collaborations became a huge part of what we called our energy strategy, or what I think most marketers would call energy. So how do you drive sort of short bursts of brand heat and attention in sort of small batch quantities that create the sense of scarcity and really drive demand for your brand?
This is the Snarketing Podcast. For marketers, by marketers. Talking to marketers with just a touch of snark. Now, here are your hosts, Valerie Vespa and Matt Wurst.
Welcome to the Snarketing Podcast. I am Matt Wurst, your host.
And I'm back. Valerie.
She's back, baby! I guess I should welcome you before I welcome our listeners, because I have to tell you, Valerie, I missed you.
Oh my God, I love you. Yes, I missed you too, and I'm sorry. I had to take some personal time.
No, you do not need to apologize.
Yes.
I
didn't have like a panic attack or like some severe, I don't know, whatever. It was unfortunately a death in the family, but I needed some time away, and thank you for understanding. I love you.
I did my best to cover. We had some good conversations without you. I feel like those guests who were like cheated out of it, they got like maybe 30% of the full snarking experience, because you're definitely like 70% of it.
Oh.
But I'm glad I no longer have to do that. So please, no one else can die in any of our families.
No,
that's
please.
Number one.
Yes.
Ever.
I agree with that.
Right. And then any other things that prevent us from being here, we'll just reschedule.
And honestly, like, I just am so impressed that you were keeping it going, and I thank you for that, because this is a special project of ours, and I would hate to see it die.
It's strange doing this without you, because there'd be times where I'd like interject or make a comment, less so for the guests and more so for you, and I'd look and there'd be nobody there, and it was like cricket.
You know how much I love your facial expressions and your
that didn't come through. But I'm glad you're back. So this episode will be your return. Mm-hmm. This guest happens to be someone I used to work with. She's great. We will be with her. This episode will air when we are in Miami, for possible. So I would say
where anything's possible
or probable at this point, right? That's what it should be called. It should be called probable, because if you ask me, probably. Yeah, that's going to be the answer. Do you want to go to a club at 3 a.m. down in Hialeah? Yeah, probably. I'm in. Do you want to go to?
Do you want to lose your hearing in 1 year at a bar?
No, I'm not referencing that if I can avoid it, because I don't want to have my PTSD come up again. Last year, listener, you may remember I lost partial hearing in my right ear, if possible. That's why people think I'm tone deaf. I'm actually really deaf. That's part of the problem. So I'm bringing noise canceling earbuds with me for like the lobby bar. What are you packing that's a secret weapon?
My curling iron, because it gets very humid.
Yes, it sure does. My pink pants stick to my legs like leather.
TMI.
Okay, so look, we need to get comfortable here, because our guest today, she trades in the, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, but her product portfolio. She is a marketing lead for some really big brands that we see when we're in CVS, or some of us may buy when we need them, and we need to be a little bit discreet about it. But there's no secret that these brands are important, that these products help people from a health and personal hygiene perspective. I worked with Megan at 360i like 10 years ago. You are meeting her for the first time, but I promise you, she's delightful. She's charming, but she's also like really smart.
I can't wait.
So let's welcome Megan Lindstrand from Combe to the show.
Yay.
She spent a decade in the creative trenches at agencies like BBH, Strawberry Frog, and 360i. Then another decade at Cole Haan, where the shoe clearly fit nicely. With Cole Haan, she built strategic partnerships and scaled global e-commerce. And now she's vice president of marketing at Combe, leading brands like Vagisil, Astroglide, and Just for Men. She calls her approach Mad Men Plus Data. Today you'll see why. Welcome to Snarketing, Megan Lindstrand.
Megan, welcome to our show. This is a show. We never really call it a show, but are you ready to kind of put on your razzle-dazzle hands and entertain the masses?
Oh, I was born to razzle dazzle. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so jazz hands, check. Valerie, check. You're good? You got the jazz hands ready? Okay. So I know this is going to be a fun conversation because, Megan, we go way back. I think we just realized that we haven't worked together in 14 years.
Yeah.
It felt like just yesterday, but maybe that's because we were kindred spirits in a way. And we've kept in touch. It's not like we haven't talked for the last
That's true.
decade and a half. But I think knowing that we worked together way back when means you knew me at a different time, right? You've watched me evolve and maybe devolve and maybe revolve and re-evolve as a marketer. But the same thing has happened with you. So that's why I'm excited to get into your story. But before we do, I'm curious, like, honest memory of that era. Like, what do you look back on in your agency days? And like, was there anything that you took notes on that you've used later?
Well, we worked at 360i, which was the last chapter of my agency career before I went to the brand side. So,
and everything since has been an epilogue. So this is all epilogue now, right?
Right. So I would say it was a lot of fun because it was like the heyday of social media. Like we worked together when brands were like, oh, social, and everyone was trying to like rack up fans, and all of Facebook lived in an iframe, which nothing could crawl and no one could see, but it was super fun. And there were games that we were making, and Coke and Starbucks and Oreo and Skittles were like running the board on fan acquisition. And it was before you had to buy them, which was cool. So yeah,
earned media for real. That's what it was.
It was actually earned. And then, all the algo changes where then you couldn't talk to any of those 20 million people without paying to talk to them. And so that was hard. But it was fun. It was a good time. We had some good laughs. You were really figuring out social media strategy, IRT, with all the C's. How many C's were there?
Yes, the 5 C's, they still exist. Thank you for remembering them. I should have patented them in some way.
You really should have.
Do you use the 5 C's? Is that one of the notes that you took with you for later use?
Sometimes. I still use the 4 C's of brand strategy. I think it's a nice little framework.
I can't take credit for those.
Yeah.
That's a Lee Mycon special. Shout out to Lee Mycon.
It's like a brand strategy, old school. I think I learned those maybe from Lee at Strawberry Frog.
Speaking of Strawberry Frog, you've had a long history at various agencies, right? And then you went in-house to brand. And I feel like that's always the holy grail. Like people are like, should I stay agency side? Should I go to the brand side? So what did the agency experience give you that you genuinely couldn't have learned somewhere else? And are there things that you learned that you've kind of figured out are untrue being on the brand side today?
Yeah, I thought when I transitioned to the brand side that I would be bored, quite honestly, because one of my favorite things about being in an agency was you could work on financial services and beer and consumer packaged goods and automotive and retail, all within the span of a day. You could just attend 5 different meetings and work on all those different clients. And I was like, how cool to get to work on all these different categories. And I was like, why would you ever want to go in-house? Because you only get to work on one thing, and that must be so boring every day. But it was not the case. I think on the brand side, what I wished when I was on the agency side was that I had more appreciation of all the different things that the marketing teams have to tackle that really have nothing to do with advertising or social media or whatever they've scoped an agency for. There are many, many, many other things that they are responsible for. And so that is only a small piece of the pie. And what I took away from the agency side was, I think a lot of great, we just talked about how many C's, 4 C's, 5 C's, was the frameworks. I don't think you get, at least in my experience, maybe because I've always been in a bit of a transformational or change management kind of a role, there haven't been these kind of structures of frameworks that I think agencies are really good at building and putting together, which is why they get hired by marketers. So it was nice to be able to take those and implement them internally or educate others and illustrate to internal teams why things like a proper creative brief are very important to fill out with a great deal of thoughtfulness.
Love that.
So in retrospect, it turns out that the agency was actually the boring part of your career. Because this is so exciting. So that's good. So
No, never.
Expectations were managed effectively. I'm looking at your LinkedIn bio here, and it opens with Mad Men plus data, which I want to kind of dig into that a little bit, because while I knew you to be both left and right brain, I never thought of you as this like analytical, insights-led person way back when. But everyone says that they're both now, right? Left brain, right brain. What's the actual proof that you're the real version and not just someone who learned enough dashboard vocabulary to survive a CMO meeting?
Wow, to survive a CMO meeting. That's okay. So I think on the Mad Men side, I think I worked at some of the best creative shops in the world. Now this was 20 plus years ago at this point, but I got to work on some of the most amazing brands and at some of the most creative, well awarded creative agencies in the world. So I think the Mad Men piece was about like, how do you take concepts that others might not realize there's real juice and real excitement within, and help people to understand the magnitude that this idea could be. So, I learned about like presentation skills, not in like a formal way, but I've had lots of conversations with people about what it's like to have junior employees on Zooms who have never been in a real room or a real creative presentation. And my saddest thing is for them to not have been in the room physically when a great creative director is presenting work. It's magical. Like if it's really good, you will get goosebumps. There is so much emotion in that room because the storytelling is so physically compelling. And so I think like that's what I've taken away is, again, we talked about the frameworks, but this irreverence and respect for a great creative idea that I think you have to be physically present to appreciate. That's what I've taken away from that. And then on the data side, like I spent 10 years very close to a D2C e-commerce company. And if we didn't understand by the hour how our revenue was tracking and how our performance media was tracking and what margin we were getting out of our ROAS, we couldn't effectively run that business. So it was so data driven. We knew our consumer LTV, we knew what the CAC was, we knew what the ratio was, we knew how much forecasted investment we needed to go acquire a customer and at what margin rate. Like you don't get that level of detail, I think, unless you're really in the weeds that way. So
was that with Cole Haan?
Yeah.
So that's like literal foot traffic that you're measuring in real time. Yeah.
Yes. Well, visits, more e-commerce traffic, but yeah.
So like speaking of Cole Haan, you were there for 10 years after your agency stints, and you stewarded that brand through IPO, which I didn't realize.
We didn't get all the way to IPO.
You didn't? Okay.
We filed our S1 to go public on February 14th of 2020, and then we didn't go through with it because of COVID. So we did all the analyst day work and all of the prep work and everything.
Yeah. The prep is the hard part, right?
It's not hard.
How does marketing sit in that prep?
Yeah. It's funny. I made a comment during it, which was that I had no idea the role that marketing played in taking a company public. But when you think about it, I mean, marketing is the centrifugal force of taking a company public. There's lots of finance, there's lots of banks, there's lots of analyst work involved from a corporate strategy and a financial perspective. But the show that you put on really comes from marketing. So you're constantly courting investors, you're courting the market, you're trying to position why this is a valuable asset and what the asset means in terms of long-term value. So there were, fashion shows and things that we had put on where we worked with events companies to reconstruct the whole office into sort of different rooms, each of which had a different experience. So it was really a massive marketing effort. to position the company for sale, which is really fun because you typically hear about it as being a very financially oriented thing, but marketing plays a massive role.
Mm.
Well, you have to make it attractive, right? Numbers are one part. It's just like everything else in our business in terms of what we do. I think my first experience with Cole Haan and just going back was the partnership with Nike, right? I was a Nike guy. I still am. I think anyone who's seen me in an event knows that I will probably be representing. But those strategic partnerships really helped Cole Haan grow in ways beyond, I think, what the traditional or typical or even maybe stereotypical target customer might be, right? It's not a partnership program. That's like portfolio strategy, right? We're talking about IPOs. So this was part of your remit, right? Building out these partnerships when you were there. How did you decide that that was worth pursuing as opposed to, just chasing the shiny object that so many other marketers are doing?
So one quick point of clarification. The Nike Cole Haan relationship was an ownership relationship for decades. Nike owned Cole Haan. Their positioning for Cole Haan was actually what athletes wear off the court or field of play.
Okay.
So if Nike is what you wear on the court or field of play, Cole Haan is what you were to wear off the court or field of play. So Nike sold Cole Haan in early 2013. And so the sale went through to private equity. And that's sort of when I joined the company shortly thereafter. So it's funny because most people think of it as a collaboration when in fact they were wholly owned by Nike for many, many years.
But collaborations and partnerships became a big part then of what happened.
So in the retail industry, and I think it started in fashion and apparel and has since ballooned to many, many other categories. But I think it started with sneakers. I think it started with high-end fashion. But yes, collaborations became a huge part of what we called our energy strategy, or what I think most marketers would call energy. So how do you drive sort of short bursts of brand heat and attention in sort of small batch quantities that create the sense of scarcity and really drive demand for your brand?
So, like going back to a few words you had mentioned earlier about being focused on transformation, your role. Can you kind of talk about the unsexy work that you do around like organizational infrastructure changes to take a company from A to B, or something that you think is crucial or critical in this moment to be thinking about when thinking about transformation for a company?
I think we're in such an odd time with let's use the sexy word AI, and everything that's happening in the industry with the sort of dissolving of SaaS platforms and companies. And you're seeing what's happening with employee headcount, which is getting reduced in a lot of places. Again, industry agnostic, it's sort of happening across the board. I think what companies need to do is hire for hunger, hire for curiosity. Because I think when we look at resource planning, which is a huge part of transformation, so throughout my 10 years at Cole Haan and even, where I am now and in the short time that I've been there, we've been very focused on what the right skill sets and capabilities are that we need to get us to the next place. So I think a lot of companies have historically looked at, well, we're in retail, so we need to hire people with retail experience, or we're in automotive, so we need to hire people with automotive experience. But I think what we're learning in 2026 is that past experience isn't what's going to get you to the future. And so I think hiring for a hunger to be a change agent and a curiosity to want to affect change operationally and strategically, those are the kinds of things that I think are transformational in companies, is really bringing in people who have skill sets, but the appetite to do much more.
Do you think that, it's maybe a loaded question, but are hard skills then kind of overrated at this point? right? Like, are there things that we don't really need to prioritize that used to be really important?
No, I think fundamentals are still very important. So we talked about things like frameworks, or I think even in the lens of data, like I feel like we are so always inundated with dashboards, but dashboards don't often include context. So you look at a trend line, it goes up. If you don't have the foundation to understand what the variable levers were that's making that trend line go up, the dashboard is sort of useless. So I think foundational skill sets and experience is still important, but I think what's more important is your ability to translate those things to future state change. So not getting stuck in your own ways and being able to adapt what you do know to be true to a future state use case, which may not even be defined, is what's really important.
Yeah, because it's almost like transformation can be reactive, like, oh, we need to transform because everyone else has moved ahead. Or it could be anticipating something that hasn't been created yet. Have you been on both sides of that transformational coin? I don't know, duality?
I think in my experience, the reactive perspective has predominantly been driven by competitive pressure. I think a lot of like, we need to change, we need to adapt, we need to move fast is always driven by like someone else did it. And so now we're like, oh, shoot, we need to do it too. So I think the more companies can get ahead of maybe not having to rely so much on being reactive due to competitive pressure, obviously that's easier said than done. But I think that's the real key, is not letting the competition get so far ahead that you're constantly in a state of reaction. The other thing I think that, you talked about hard skill sets that I think you don't really learn in a school, and you may not even learn again in this like hybrid Zoom world that we now live in, even professionally, particularly as a more junior or mid-level employee, is this concept of influence, which I'm finding the further out I get in my career is becoming more and more important. So you might have all the data, you might have all the context, you might have all the experience in the world, but if you can't figure out how to properly influence others to go on a journey with you, it's really going to be challenging to move any ball forward, whether in a transformation state or not. And so what's hard is that like, you don't take a college class in influence. I mean, maybe you take debate but these like that skill set.
Peer pressure is all college. Yeah. Isn't that what we're talking about? No.
Peer pressure.
It's a different kind of influence.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a class on like negotiations, or maybe there's a class on, like I said, debate, but I don't know that.
Speaking. Yeah.
Persuasive writing. But I feel like the ability to influence is so critical with all the data that we have and all the dashboards that we have, is that if you can't influence others as to what it means and translate it into action, it gets to be really hard.
And is influence trust? I mean, I don't know.
I think a lot of it is trust. I think a lot of it is knowing who you're trying to influence and what they care about, and trying to sort of appeal to that. But yeah, I think it's a lot of trust.
Yeah, there should be a class called The Art of the Spin.
Maybe you should teach it. Let's do it. Who do we pitch this to? How do we pitch this class? And to whom? I don't know. Is it graduate level? I feel like younger kids, like freshmen in college, can't keep up with that. But maybe it's a vocational school.
I don't think they know what they're spinning at that point.
No, that's true. They're just
we could do like a Coursera for 30 somethings early in their career.
Let's add that as yet another side gig that we'll pursue in between episodes here. So Megan, most recently now, as you've grown and evolved, right? Let's talk about your current role, at least for a little bit. With Combe, big brands that everybody knows that play an important role, right? From Astroglide to Vagisil, just for men. These are real brands, right? Big reach, big penetration, big awareness, but they're also sometimes brands that people will like whisper about and don't shout. So what attracted you to that type of opportunity? Because I think a lot of marketers at your level would have gone somewhere that maybe has a sexier elevator pitch. I don't know.
You don't think personal lubricant is sexy?
I mean, it can be. I think anything can be with the right mood lighting.
Yeah. I think what is interesting is that these are such storied legacy brands. And I think what is exciting from an opportunity perspective to us is to translate them for a more modern generation and a more modern mind state. So I think what's also interesting, again, as you look at the competitive landscape, is the stigma around these being maybe more like shy to buy categories is becoming diminished by the day as you look at what Gen Z cares about and even younger millennials. They're not really stigmatized, these categories, by younger consumers. I think they were by older consumers, and so there's sort of still this legacy that hangs over people who are in the middle, like you and I.
Generational, right? Okay, yeah,
yeah. But
and
I
social
think
media has removed all, concerns.
I mean,
we
I
overshare.
remember being embarrassed going to CVS and picking up a box of tampons and going to the counter with them. I mean, like, to a late degree in my life, like it's like ridiculous. It's just like
now you get them from Amazon. I think e-commerce has been a massive lever for that also. So I think like influencers who are just openly talking about things, who are showing up in your reels left, right, and center. And I think the ability to get things delivered by our friend Jeff Bezos, on a couple hours from now, if not by tomorrow, it really just makes people feel like these are everyday items, which is great.
But these are very different. I mean, there are some similarities in terms of just the way that you might approach marketing or positioning or distributing products, right? I mean, they're all sold at CVS, but they have different audiences. They have different values and ethos, right? You can get away with a lot of things with Astroglide that maybe you couldn't with Just for Men, or vice versa. I don't know. But is that a challenge? Like you were talking about your agency days where you would go from cookies to beer to financial services. Now you're going from, making it easier to slide right in to maybe making it easier to fit right in.
Wow. I see what you did there. That was nice.
I know. And did you see the facial expressions? He's back.
He's back.
You're back. I needed you to bring this out of me. But I
Oh.
can just slide it in there easily.
Yeah. Oh, that's we do that a lot during the day.
By the way, do you guys have like a jar? We're going to keep things professional here, but is there a jar for like, bad puns and references?
No
jar.
No jar. I mean, I think what I have found to be interesting, I had some experience in, as you mentioned, like alcohol, more sort of regulated categories. I think what's interesting to me is we talked about e-commerce, we talked about digital marketing, sort of destigmatizing some of these categories, is that a lot of the publisher and the e-commerce partners still have ad policies that are sort of more akin to the stigmatized way of living than the destigmatized way of living. So in fact, like that ends up playing a huge role in sort of what we create and how we say things so that we can really get marketing materials through the sausage making factory that is the publisher ad policy landscape.
So right. So you have to be aware of kind of every type of regulatory or legal or even just socially acceptable vibe out there when you're doing this, right? So when that process starts, right, from put your madman hat back on for a second. When you're working with a creative agency with these briefs that you're creating, what's the room like? Like I have to imagine you get multiple types of personalities, the ones who can get uncomfortable and make it weird, and the ones who just get maybe a little too excited about the creative possibilities?
Well, I think we always like to make sure that everyone in the room knows we're talking about, in many instances, people's serious problems. So you kind of get like a very tiny grace period, and then it's sort of like, let's move on to the work.
Okay.
Yeah, not everyone's you, Matt.
I'm ready to move on. So let's talk about the craft of this then, right? Because
nice segue.
Frameworks are great, right? They get, strategists become well paid because of those things. But from a measurement perspective, what's the difference between like genuine insight versus a rationalization that's dressed up in a dashboard?
For me, it goes back to the use case. So I think that what can be hard is when you have a bunch of data or you field a bunch of research and you get the data back and you're sort of like, now how are we going to apply it? So, in
with a little brush to my sideburns. No, see, I can go there. I wasn't ready to let it go. Now I'm ready to let it go. Okay, let's go back.
But I think in much of my career, the application of that data towards things like a great creative brief, or like a product creation architecture, which has been, again, like something that's been in my life for many, many years. So how are we thinking about the lanes that we swim in terms of the product that we create and how it's different than the consumer? So like brand strategy, creative development, product creation architecture, white space, like those are the types of things when you talk about insights that I think are important in terms of applicability of the data. So I think a lot of times the sort of secret sauce comes in, how do you translate that into each of those discrete work streams? Maybe you don't even know what the work streams are, but that's where like the real nuance of the work comes in.
And like, how do you feel in this process, both the sort of balance of measurement and creative instinct? Like how is AI playing a role in this? And is it going to be taking parts of those roles and doing it better than a human? Or do you think there always will be the need for the human touch?
I haven't seen AI yet that has convinced me that we can just eliminate all human touch from everything. I think where humans become really impactful in the use of AI is the ability to distill what good looks like, which goes back, Mac, to your point about experience and hard skill sets. Like you can prompt to your heart's desire, you can automate agents to your heart's desire, but if you don't know what good looks like and what you're looking at, then it makes AI fairly useless.
Yeah, it's judgment and style is how I heard someone else reference that, right? Like,
yes,
I can read some output that an LLM created for me, but I can instinctively know that that does not sound good.
Yeah.
Right? It may be grammatically accurate, which, is 90% of it for me. But that other 10% needs to be better, different, not just faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
And that's...
Or you've got to know what direction you're reprompting it in also. So a lot of times, like I'll get a lot of data back, or I'll get a lot of, words or copy or ideas back. And you have to know to say, this is good, this is bad, make more like this, make less like that, or don't show me anything that looks like this again. But until AI gets, and it's getting better. I mean, but even in the last 12 months, I'll say it's been huge difference, but I think humans still have to know what they're looking for.
And the last thing you'd want is for an AI to confuse your brands and create messaging that speaks to the different audiences that you are speaking to, because that could get weird.
That could get weird. Yes. Yep.
So if you are in your dream scenario, let's just say, outside of Combe's portfolio for now, if you could parachute into a brand anywhere in the world with full authority, full budget, no legal constraints, what would you love to kind of sink your teeth into? Just pick a brand and tell me why.
Well, I was just talking with a friend about this the other day. I've always loved Lego. I think Lego is such an interesting brand because they've taken what was this small plastic brick and they've made an entertainment business out of it. They've done Crocs collaborations out of it. They've partnered with every licensing, entertainment company in the world to make bespoke sets. Like, I just think they've done such a phenomenal job at expanding what a product could be into a genuine lifestyle brand. So I'm a huge fan of Lego as a brand. I just think they are, chef's kiss when it comes to being able to extend a product into a genuine brand.
And it's, kids, adults all over the world. But it's not like it's an overnight sensation.
No, I know the story. It's unbelievable.
They've built it brick by brick.
Brick by brick, even the little tiny ones that I step on in my house.
Yes, that is, and I'm sure they've done something with that creatively too, because it's something that we all know and can relate to as a parent.
So if a 24-year-old marketer said to you, I want to be you in 20 years, what's the actual career path that you would draw for them?
I would encourage them, if at all possible, to try to do what I've done, which is agency and client side, because I think it just gives you such tremendous perspective and ability to communicate with one and the other. I think sometimes, and Matt, you spent a lot of time on the agency side. Like, I think a lot of times relationships break down due to just inability to communicate. And if you've done both, you really understand the nuance of what they care about, what you care about, whatever side you're on, and how to really bring the best possible work forward. And then outside of that, I think it's those two things that I mentioned earlier, which is I've always been very curious. So I think, and again, we talked about, what's that Chinese proverb? May you live in interesting times. Like, every day in the world of marketing is just so different. There's new technology, there's new platforms, there's new product collaborations, there's new things that are continually recreating what the definition of marketing is and being a marketer. You're like, oh, now I guess we have to care about that. So we'll go learn more about
it in the first place. If you just never learn it, then you never have to relearn it and unlearn it. So that's my approach. Just never learn anything.
Yeah.
You are the antithesis of that, first of all. You could explain LLMs better than people building the LLMs when they first came out.
Yeah.
What's the biggest piece of bullshit in marketing right now that you think nobody's really calling out loudly enough or tackling?
I still am on the fence between like AEO, GEO, SEO. Where is the traffic going? Where is it coming from? Where is it getting referred to? Where is it getting referred from? I still am trying to figure out, content, keywords, where they surface, where they index, how important those things are. I think is still early days. We're in very early days.
Well, and before we have it figured out, there will be another EO that we have to figure out too. But maybe it will get easier if the automation just tells us what matters.
Yeah. And then I think I was reading, the big news headline was around, Shopify and ChatGPT integrating, and all this revenue is going to come from ChatGPT, Shopify. But then when you read the data, it's like not actually true. So, all these retailers, I'm sure, if, from a D2C perspective, are like, oh my God, their CMO or their CEO.
What's going to happen to my traffic? Yeah.
We gotta get on this. We gotta migrate to Shopify. We gotta get it. And then, you read the data and it's like, actually, they don't want to buy here. They just want to read, consumers just want to read here and then go buy somewhere else. It's that kind of a thing that creates that sort of reactive, we're all running to one side of the ship and then we all run to the other side of the ship and we all run to the other side of the ship and the ship's just going like this back and forth. So
I feel
you're getting seasick is basically what you're telling me.
We're all getting seasick.
We're all getting seasick. And look, maybe as long as the ship is going in the right direction it kind of doesn't matter which side of the ship you're on at the end of the day. But I do think there is something to be said about leading versus, like, do you want to be the driver or do you want to be the passenger? And there's no right or wrong, but there is a right and wrong for different brands, and there is a right and wrong for different leaders. And, you know, as long as I've known you, you've really always been in the right seat. And that's what I've respected and admired and truly valued, just learning from you and being able to work with you. And, you know, someday at some point we'll get to work together again, not just in a podcast, although this isn't work. But I wanted to say that before we get to the lightning round, because it really is a pleasure just to hear you talk and to see your work, because you've always been amazing, but like you continue to grow and continue to impress everybody. So
thanks, Matt. Thank you.
All the good work. Okay, ready for the lightning round?
I don't know. Am I?
Let
me bring back my jazz hands. Let me bring back my jazz hands.
Yeah, remember, we're here to entertain.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong. There's only wrong.
Ready.
When you got into marketing, was there a reason? Was there like a brand or a tagline or a commercial from the 80s that got you jazzed? You're like, I want to do this.
I went to Penn State, and my parents went to Penn State. My mom got the alumni magazine, and there was like a spread of like a day in the life of this alumni who worked at Y&R. I won't state the year. And it was like,
the fact that it was still Y&R tells me the year.
Yeah, I know.
Years ago.
I know, years ago.
Yeah.
And I read this day in the life, and I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I read this, and I was like, oh my God. I was in high school. My mom was like, you should read this. And I was like, this sounds fabulous. I want to do this. This fabulous woman is like going to shoots, and then she's taking client meetings. Sounds so exciting. So yeah, I mean, I the more I read about advertising and the more, you know, I got into it, I just thought it was so cool. I think it's so amazing that you get to learn about consumers and position things in a way that actually solves problems in their lives or makes them happy. And that's so cool. I love that.
If you're building a brand from scratch tomorrow, is your first hire a creative director or a data analyst?
Creative director. I used to work with someone who said, lead with emotion, justify with fact. And that played into my answer. I think you've got to create emotion. You've got to create an idea. You've got to stand for something. Then you can justify it and rationalize it and do all your data. So anyway.
Okay. What about a product category you would just never work in no matter what they paid you? Is there one?
Stool softener? I don't know. I don't know. That would be tough for me. That would be tough.
No, it would be tough for anyone. That's why you need the softener. But it came out so easy. So I'm impressed that you just thought of that off the top of your head or pulled it out of somewhere else.
Does Tactile still do marketing? I think that would be tough too. Yeah.
Is your last job going to be agency or in-house?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe neither. Maybe I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay.
Open up a sandwich shop or something.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I'll just go. I don't do something totally different. I don't know.
Between two pieces of bread. There you are. You're the meat in that agency brand family. And then the last question, what is the last thing you bought because marketing actually worked on you?
That's a good one. I bought a butt blaster.
What? Okay, I'll answer, but what is a butt blaster?
I don't think it's actually called that. I've been joking.
It's stool softener. There you go. It works.
No, it's a pair of shorts that zaps.
No.
I have one of those too. I have shorts that stimulate, like as if you're doing squats.
Oh.
And
I wish the listener could see your hand gestures as you were explaining that, because that was worth the price of admission right there.
That's amazing.
All right, Megan, what you were just talking about it before, maybe. I don't know, before we started recording, you were telling me what you were buying.
What am I buying? I buy a lot of stuff for my kids. I bought a lot. Mostly because I'm like, oh, that looks fun. And
I thought you were going to say the Olympics tickets.
Yeah.
That was from Instagram initially.
Yeah, you saw an Instagram ad and bought a ticket.
That was from an Instagram ad. That's right. It said sign up to get in the pool, and I was like, God, I've always wanted to go to the Olympics. Sure. So yes, I did buy. I did.
For judo tickets.
I didn't spend that much. Maybe because I was in wave 1. I don't know. Maybe the prices go up. Sorry, Val.
Damn it.
Oh yes, I did. I'm sorry. I did. I bought LA 28 tickets, and I'm so excited.
You've got 2 years to really build up that momentum. So that is going to be.
I've got 2 years to save for the airline tickets, because when are those ever going back down? I don't know. Like,
just get in the car and start driving. We'll get there in time.
Can you send me your worksheet for the games, by the way? I need that.
Yeah. By the way, the spreadsheet that you created for ordering and aligning
it's on the. I'll send you the link. Yeah.
You have a framework for everything.
I didn't build it. Yeah.
No. Well, you're using someone else's framework. There you go. Megan, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
Speaking of time, we are out of it.
Okay.
So,
guys,
we will hopefully see you before the Olympics, but if not, maybe we'll see you there.
If we don't, that's really sad, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's very sad. Let's do something this summer. Goodbye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
That's a wrap on Snarketing. Thanks to Megan Lindstrand, VP of Marketing at Combe, for keeping it real. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you next time.